I can compare fractions with the same numerator. This is going to build a little bit off of lesson 1, talking about comparing fractions that have the same denominator. But this one we're looking at the same numerator where we have different denominators. Let's review comparing. When we compare, we use greater than, less than, or equal to. Here are some examples. 3 is less than 8. 8 is greater than 3. And then you have 2 halves equals 1. Again, because 2 over 2 as a fraction is the same as 1, so these are actually equal numbers. Alright, so the first fraction I have up here is 1/2. You have 2 equal parts, one of them is shaded in, and 1/8. 8 equal parts, one is shaded in. I want to point out that the wholes are designed to be exactly the same. So you're kind of going from 0 to 1. This is where 1/8 would fall, and this is where 1/2 would fall. Our numerators are both 1. Our denominators are 2 and 8. When we compare these, you should note that 1/2 is greater than 1/8. And this is because, if you look at the shading, a lot more area is shaded in. A lot more of this fraction is used. Between 0 and 1, 1/8 is closer to 0, 1/2 is closer to 1. That tells us which one is greater. 1/2 is greater. Another thing I want to build on, though, is if I used these models, 1/2, 2 equal parts, 1 is shaded, and 1/8, 8 equal parts, and 1 is shaded, I can't use these to compare. The whole itself has to be equal. So when we look at these, since the whole is this big rectangle for eighths and this little rectangle for halves, I can't compare these fractions. So you always have to make sure that you have equal wholes. Or you maybe have a number line from 0 to 1 with both fractions on it. Here's another example. You have 2/3, 2 parts shaded in, 3 total equal. 2 is your numerator, 3 is your denominator. Down here you have 2 shaded in again with 6 equal parts, so 2/6. Now when we compare these, you can kind of look at the area. Well, there's a lot more shaded for 2/3. It's probably the bigger fraction. If you were to translate this right onto a number line, 2/6 is right here, and 2/3 is right here. 2/3 closer to 1, 2/6 closer to 0. 2/3 is the larger fraction in this case, or 2/3 is greater than 2/6. There's kind of a trick to this too. Just like with the numerators, all you did was whichever numerator was, when you, in the other video of lesson 1, when you compared fractions that had the same denominator, whichever numerator was the bigger fraction. This is kind of the opposite. We're looking at the bottom. We're looking at fractions that have the same numerator but different denominators. So 2, 2, 3, and 6. If the numerator is the same, the smaller denominator is actually greater. 2/3 and 2/6. Well, 2/3 is the bigger fraction, and 3 is actually the smaller denominator. So it's almost like reverse comparing. Same numerator, your denominators are different. Thirds are larger than 6. Like, look at 1/3 compared to 1/6. The bigger the denominator, the smaller the piece. So a smaller denominator means a bigger piece. So if you have 2 of them, it's more than 2 of a different denominator that's larger. Here are some practice problems to try. All of these have the same numerators and different denominators, so you just need to compare them. Use greater than, less than, or equal to. Pause the video, trying to figure them out, and then hit play and compare what you did to what I'm going to do. Alright, 2/4 and 2/8. So I would first try and draw a model here. Make sure your wholes are equal. Split the first one into 4ths, and the second one into 8ths. Oops. There it goes. Alright, and now we need to shade in 2/4 and 2/8. So 2 on the top, 1, 2, and then 2 on the bottom. 1, 2. And in this case, I noticed that the 2/4 is larger, more space is shaded than the 2/8. So the 2/4 is going to be the greater fraction, or 2/4 is greater than 2/8. 1/2 and 1/6. And put these on a number line. Here's 0, here is 1. First thing I have to do is split it in half. And so right here would be 1/2. And then for sixths, you can split each half into thirds. Or I'm going to go ahead and draw a little bar up here to help me out. Let me make this into sixths. And now I can put them down. This would be 1/6 and kind of copy that down here. And you can see that 1/6 is closer to 0. 1/2 is closer to 1. So again, 1/2 is going to be greater than 1/6. And down here I have 2/3 and 2/2. And for this one I'm just going to talk about the trick you can do where you look at the numerators, they're the same. So then you kind of reverse compare the denominators. And that works up here. 2/4 and 2/8. Numerators are the same. The smaller numerator, or the smaller denominator, is the bigger fraction. So 4 is smaller than 8, so 2/4 is greater than 2/8. Down here, 1 and 1. The denominator 2 is smaller than 6, so 1/2 is greater than 1/6. Last problem. 2 and 2, 2/3 and 2/2. Well, the denominator 2 is smaller than 3, so 2/2 is going to be greater than 2/3, but the way this is written, you have to write 2/3 is less than 2/2. I can compare fractions with the same numerator. I want you to use greater than, less than, or equal to, and figure out how to compare these two fractions. You have 3/4 compared to 3/6.